Oh boy, this is going to be a bit of a mess. So, quick history lesson for those who might not know, or those watching this from the future. Over the course of last year, 2022 EOD's release, yada yada, this build, Power Mechanist, or at the time just Rifle Mech, was one of the most popular and most hated builds in the game. The problem, so to speak, was that it did competitive damage reliably, while pretty much just auto-attacking. It flooded pug groups and kicked off tons of discussion because why put effort into actually playing DPS when you can just hold down the auto button and that did the job as well, and in some cases did the job better. There was more to this situation, but that's all I have time for. Since then, the build's been nerfed and the outrage has died down. The auto-attack setup can still do about 20k on a golem, which is a number I'll leave uncommentated because we do not have time to get into that discussion, but the landscape around it has changed a lot. Now, playing this build the not totally lazy way isn't that much harder, really. You just mix almost all of the rifle skills and most of the grenades into your gameplay, as well as pressing the mech skills off cooldown. Rifle 2 and Grenade 2 basically share a cooldown, which can help you keep track of when you should be going into grenades. A mechanic that didn't exist for most of last year is that if your mech isn't close to you, it loses most of its stats, which means you have to pay relatively close attention to where your mech is at all times. The default setup runs the mech's ranged attacks, but be aware that those can occasionally cause positioning problems, and the alternate melee trade also works fine, and in some situations can be better. In terms of survivability, you're average thanks to NG's good base stats, plus the benefit of you being a ranged DPS at least when you can use it. See the point above. You're fairly independent though, because you can give yourself a good chunk of boons, so that's nice. As for utility, your CC is quite good as usual for Engineer. You do also have access to a projectile block, boon strip, and even more CC. This is less than other Engineer belts, lacking the tool belt does limit your options. In theory, you have a stab option, but that's only if you're really desperate. I'll be honest, the time of Power Mech is thankfully over. At least right now, Condi Mech is the better DPS build. If you want a build that's super safe and really independent, Power Reaper does the job better. And if you want one that's both super safe and super simple, Condi Virtuoso is also just better. Yeah, it's still playable, but that's about it. And for my 2 cents, it can stay that way.